The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio. Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss which is better, buying your plant starts or starting your own plant starts at your residence, as well as does a warmer winter mean more bugs in the summer? Our guest is author of the Straw Bale Garden Book, Joe Karsten, will be with us, and will answer your garden questions. So join us.
You're listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. I'm your host, Joy Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Happy you're tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 18 AM and FM frequencies, broadcasting our program here in 2024 through our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Underneath the Season 8 tab at the top of the page, podcast replay, in-studio video replay, however you're doing such. Thank you very much. You want to be part of the program? You can certainly do that. Two easy avenues to do such. You can send us an email, gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call, toll-free, coast-to-coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. If we can't get to you while we're on the air, leave a message, and we will call you back to the answer to your question. Going to get in the program, but first, Holly, it's the joke of the week.
Yes, the joke of the week. I tried my best to make a complete herb garden, but I just couldn't find the time.
There you go.
Ba-dum-bum.
Get a lot. We've had two herb jokes already in the first couple of weeks, but
they're popular.
They're doozies.
Yeah.
The joke of the week is brought to you by Rescue.com.
This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and your yard protected from pests like insects, wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, fire ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
So we were going to start off the program. This topic is derived from a question. Kathy, who listens to us on WJOL 1340 AM out of the Joliet, Illinois area, wrote in as she's a first-time vegetable gardener and listener to our program and was wondering if we could cover some information about starting seeds versus buying starts at the garden center. She's heard that starting seeds can be difficult, and she believes she's in Zone 6. She's about 40 miles southwest of Chicago. Also, what variety of lettuce is easy to grow? Thanks so much, and absolutely love the program. Well, we thank you for that, Kathy, and this has spurred us to conversate in this segment about what is better, or is one better than the other, starting seeds or buying them at the garden center, or does it matter?
Well, I think you have to think about, I guess, if you want I don't want to say commitment, but it is a commitment to start seeds in a way. Mm-hmm. You could always try it out as well, and you could start small if you wanted to, which I would recommend because you could get a feel for it, or maybe you're just like, this isn't the year for it. But one thing to keep in mind is that you do need a designated spot for about 3 months, maybe 4, 3, 4,
yeah.
3. Yeah. So keep that in mind, that you do have to determine that. As far as supplies, potting soil, not terribly expensive depending on how many seeds you start.
If you're going to buy potting soil, don't buy the El Cheapo stuff at the drugstore. Go to your local independent garden center and buy the store brand, not the name brand. You're going to get more quantity for less dollars, and it's going to be just as good. If you're looking for something specific, you want to look for something that has a slow-release fertilizer and possibly a soil moisture capability retention mechanism in it, just so you don't have to water as much.
Right. So then you want to think about seed starting trays. You don't have to get fancy. You can reuse items like sour cream containers, yogurt containers, what have you.
Well, we have used and continue to reuse the Root Maker grow trays. We've had them for over 10 years now, and they're much more durably manufactured than the cheap ones you get at your garden center. And they're specifically designed to air prune the roots, which means a more fabulous root system is a happier, more productive plant.
Right, but maybe you're like, I'm not sure if I want
True.
to invest in that. Yeah, I want to see how this goes. So you can always utilize random plastics you already have on hand, but just make sure you do have some sort of drainage hole situation, or you're very careful about watering. So yeah, just get creative. Like I said, yogurt cups, sour cream containers, cottage cheese. Cottage cheese seems to be all the rage these days for some reason. Possibly a grow light,
Right.
but you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need a light.
Right. So if you have like a south-facing window that gets a lot of light, or a window that faces east or west, we grew without grow lights for a number of years. With a west-facing window, we just made sure to rotate the plants. You can also think about what, if you want to give this a go, maybe there's a particular plant you want to try to start versus buy. Maybe there's a certain tomato that you're not sure that the garden center would have, or hot peppers, like extremely hot peppers, something like that. I would not recommend starting your seed starting experience with extremely hot peppers, because peppers can be touchy to, I think, a little bit more challenging.
But if people are what they call pepper heads, and they've always purchased but never grew, they would probably understand the safety requirements that would need to be done when dealing with that. Because it's only in the pepper, the actual harvest itself. It's not like you're touching leaves, and all peppers are the same until they produce that fruit.
Right. And then as far as a benefit to it is that you do have the larger variety, again, of plants to grow. You can pretty much start any seeds you want. That makes sense to start seeds. Don't start like root crop beet seeds or something like that. And then you can plant more than you need. So if you were like, I know that I like these tomatoes or peppers or eggplant, whatever, you can plant a few more just in case. If you go to the garden center and you buy this eggplant and it dies, most of these garden centers don't have like a warranty. I think.
Some places have like on trees and shrubs, but not necessarily on the vegetable starts.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're going to go buy, the biggest con or negative about buying plant starts is the cost. Due to a couple of years ago, I mean, it used to be $4 for one single pepper or tomato or eggplant. Then it was $5, and now it was $6.50. And I would say let's go with $7 or $8 this year. Why not?
I don't think, to me, the biggest negative is the lack of variety.
The lack of variety.
I always feel like this is it.
Well, if they had 35 different varieties of something, maybe the $8 a plant wouldn't be so bad. But
Right.
they've only got 5 or 8.
Yeah. That makes sense too. And I know that there's a reason. I mean, A, they do it for space. B, they don't know that, some weird offshoot, whatever plant isn't going to necessarily sell, except for maybe that one garden nerd. And no hate against garden nerds, because we're garden nerds. But it's just, they don't know for sure. So
Their supplier only makes so many. 99% of these garden centers are not starting these plants themselves. They are purchasing, and the truck rolls in and hundreds of plants come off in trays. And that's how the world works.
Right. They're relying on their own supply as well.
But with these plant starts that are $6, $7, $8 a piece, they sell out every year. So somebody's buying them.
Right. And then the other thing is it's not going to take up any space or commitment in your home. It's almost where you're like, okay, I'm going to whatever day you decide that you're going to plant, go get these things, or the day before, whatever.
You don't have to harden them off.
Right.
Hardening off is a process of acclimating the plant from an indoor environment to an outdoor over the course of up to a week. Most garden centers, if not all, are already done for you because they're outside. So you just grab, go, and plant, and you don't have to worry about any of these hardening off situations. So, it's always a backup. If the plant fails and you get early enough, and it's early enough, you can go buy another one.
Yeah. Absolutely. But you also want to keep in mind that you don't know necessarily how popular gardening might be in the spring again. and so things could sell out.
Oh, tomatoes always sell out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the poor little eggplants or some of the peppers that, but tomatoes always sell out. And that, whether it's also knowledge too, for both of these. Whether you're going to start your seeds or you're going to buy starts, you got to do a little research for what you're looking for. Cherry tomatoes, beefsteak, hot peppers, mild peppers. What is your intentions? Are you just growing to grow for fun and then give it away? Or are you intending to utilize this harvest for some specific purpose?
So here's my take.
Okay.
This is my advice. Before I met Joey, I never started seeds until I met Joey. And then we started a lot. We started them early accidentally, but whatever. That's neither here nor there.
Story for another day.
Story for another day. I would, if I knew like, I love this particular vegetable or whatever, I would start that seed inside, especially if I had space for it. If it was my first time starting seeds, I would start these seeds. I would just reuse something I have. I would find a window to put them in. I would rotate them, whatever. And then I would purchase whatever else.
Well, we have on our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, 10 years worth of videos, and that will transfer you over to our YouTube channel, where we have started seeds from the very beginning in party cups, in yogurt cups, to the transition over to more sophisticated, I guess would be the word, trays, root maker trays, and grow lights. With the evolution of our growing life, I guess, of plant starts. So you can go to the very early videos. We're very simplistic, very reusable, and as we attained the funds, we were able to work up to more longevity items in order to plant in and grow. Investment, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that being said, also Walton's has a lot of things for you. WaltonsInc.com, sponsor of the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Yeah, canning, preserving, we know you care about that, your fruits and vegetables, but what about the meat? At Walton's, you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way. Walton's Inc. has everything you need to make any type of meat product. Meatgistics.com.
Turkey season's coming up if you are in that realm of hunting.
Meatgistics.com has information to educate people on the hows and whys of meat processing, as well as a community of almost 15,000 users who will help give their opinion and guidance on meat processing issues. If you want to find more information, that's Meatgistics.com. If you go to WaltonsInc.com, you can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.
When we return, does a warmer winter equate to more bugs in the summer? We'll discuss that. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Straw bale gardening is all the rage. Get your bale started easily with the Bale Buster Straw Bale Conditioning Formula. This is the only product that has been specifically formulated for use in straw bale gardening. Each unit contains 250 million colony-forming units of trichoderma, fungi, and Bacillus bacteria. In addition to the fertilizer itself, produces fantastic results with a bountiful production of vegetable crops. Start with the best to get the best, traditional or organic formula. Take the guesswork out of conditioning your straw bale. Go to balebuster.com to find out more.
Goodbye, biting bugs and plant invaders. No More Bugs by Naturally Green Products is your answer. No More Bugs is DEET-free and not sticky on your skin. USDA certified, No More Bugs has been a favorite by consumers across the country for over 14 years. More than a repellent, it is safe for you, your plants, pets, and home. Available online at nomorebugs.net, Amazon, Walmart.com, and the Home Shopping Network. Dig planting holes from a comfortable standing position. Step, twist, pull, and plant. Visit ProPlugger.com. Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at DripWorks.com. Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Welcome back to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. Moments away, does a warmer winter mean more bugs? But first, Honey Bee Healthy.
Since 2000, Honey Bee Healthy Inc. has helped beekeepers maintain healthy and thriving hives. Attracting pollinators to your garden this year is as simple as hanging a hummingbird feeder with a mixture of sugar and water and Honey Bee Healthy Original. Don't be alarmed to see birds, bees, and butterflies dining together at the feeder. Pollinators can coexist peacefully. Honey Bee Healthy Inc. is offering a 10% discount on an 8-ounce bottle of Honey Bee Healthy Original to the show's listeners. Enter discount code BEEGARDEN at checkout. That's BEE Garden at checkout. For more information, mixing instructions, and more, go to honeybee, like the letter B, healthy.com.
If you are in a position where you're not able to obtain those coupon codes while you're listening, you can go to our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com. And under the Money tab at the top of the page, they're all listed for you. You just got to click on them. It'll take you right to their site. Just remember the coupon code and use that when you check out. Well, we've teased it several times here, Holly. Warmer winters. For whatever reason, you may believe winters are warmer than they have been when you were a child. Do warmer winters result in more bugs in the summer, or are we just thinking that because that's just what, more bugs? It must be a warmer winter. Things didn't die off.
There's some theories to that. One is that if it is a warmer winter or a warmer spring, or spring is a little bit sooner, these bugs are going to come out of their hibernation faster.
Sooner.
And then all of a sudden it's like, bam, bugs. So you might think there's more bugs, but it's not necessarily more bugs, but they're just like...
Their instincts is when a certain temperature reaches, they know when it's time to hatch or come out of their overwinter home. And that's when you think, oh my, there are a lot here, but everybody's coming out at the same time.
Right. So maybe
feeding time at the zoo.
Maybe the bugs normally come out in June, but they come out in May. And by July, you're like, there's so many bugs, but it's just because you've had a month longer of the nonsense.
And because in a quote unquote traditional winter, the days slowly warm up. So some of them may come out gradually and progressively over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. But when it all of a sudden goes from super cold to summertime warm in 24, 48, 72 hours, everybody wakes up and everybody goes out to see what's going on type of mindset.
Another thing that would have an impact is where you live. Mm-hmm. So if you live in a more rural area, you might feel like you have more bugs, and that might be possibly true because if there's urban sprawl occurring, and then
a lot of pavement,
there's habitat loss for bugs, then those bugs are going to flock to the more natural areas. So now, if you are in the rural area and the urban area keeps growing and growing closer to you,
pushing the bugs,
it pushes the bugs to you. So there's that too. Other factors are dependent on how much rain. So if we have a droughty winter with a warm winter, then we might possibly have less of certain bugs because those bugs may not have enough moisture in the soil to have their hibernation. But if we have a super wet winter and a super wet spring, then those bugs might exist more.
Well, just like in the tomato patch, tomato hornworms in the fall lay their larvae at a certain depth. And if you disrupt that depth in the air, like your tomato patch was horrible, got attacked by tomato hornworm, you rip the tomatoes out in the fall, and you either hand till or you mechanically till that area. That will disrupt the level in which that larva sets over the winter, and 90% of the chance that larva will be too warm or too cold and won't hatch again. Same kind of concept. And obviously, these bugs are not inadvertently living or hibernating in the incorrect depth or in an area where it's going to be detrimental for them. And and a lot of this information is a great article from the Iowa State University Extension Outreach, Horticulture, and Home Pest News, where they have a great article that goes a lot in depth in this conversation.
Right. Correct. So soil moisture, habitat loss. So again, we talked about this, a significant factor that could change or alter the bug population.
When you start cutting down the woods or the trees or the shrubs or the grass along the side of the road, where are these things going to go? They're going to go places where that event is not occurring.
I remember you see this even just with wildlife during droughts, where the wildlife will, if you're in a drought, wildlife will then go more aggressively eat people's gardens that are being watered. And it's kind of the same for bugs.
Well, we see this, and we had a perfect example of this at our home, where just next to it was about a 10-acre woods, kind of swampy area, and it was bought and converted into a business. And as soon as they cut those trees down, there were deer and squirrels and rabbits that all infiltrated into our yard. And I was within 5 feet of several deer, and I've got video of it. And they walked right by because they were so confused. What happened? Their habitat was gone.
It was kind of sad, too. But yeah, I remember that May, it was like 2 years ago, there was just deer all over the place. So, and there's deer kind of all around us, but that particular habitat, they had to find a new place to go. So same thing can happen with bugs. Also, bugs that lay their eggs on exposed elements like branches or basically branches, if it gets warmer out, those eggs may hatch sooner.
Too soon, and then it freezes again. Or it doesn't freeze because, if they lay it and then it gets a really, really warm spell like we see with daffodils, it gets really warm and they come up and then it freezes for like 3 weeks and they all die or that type of thing. And for whatever reason, that's what's occurring.
Right. So you have to keep these things in mind that it's not black and white. It's more or less that these things could occur. And the biggest
ebbs and flows.
Yeah. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that you want to provide habitats for the good bugs like pollinators, and then certain
How do we
beetles.
do that?
Well, definitely for pollinators, you can do like little bee baths. You can put up all sorts of like feeders. You can
Honeybee healthy.
You can honeybee healthy.
You can also progressively plant flowers that progressively flower and over the course of the summer. It's not a one and done. There's multiple flowers on your property because like tulips are pretty for 3 minutes and 17 seconds and they all wilt and that's the end of it for the year.
No, but there's certain bee, like you can buy certain bee mixes from junk seed. But then you can also just grow flowers that are kind of like the daisy type flowers where native flowers.
Native plants, native flowers. Also, when the winter comes, I know we're coming out of winter, but don't rip your garden bare down to soil. Leave the stuff alone and allow the insects, good and bad, they cohabitate, to live in the stalks or live under the leaves or the debris that's in your garden. When you rip all of that out, they have nowhere to go.
Absolutely. And even now, when there's...
Don't do it yet.
No, don't do it yet. But if you could do this gradually too, when it does get warmer out, you don't have to rip everything up at once. You can do it gradually, or just keep in mind in the fall to make sure you leave some leaves around if you can for the bugs. It's usually the good bugs. It's also like for the fungus and things like that.
The health and for healthy soil, not leaving your soil bare. It's for all the insects under the soil, you want to cover it with some type of material, leaves, if you have straw, shredded, grass clippings, leaves. Because if you really look at nature, there's nothing in nature, minus the deserts. If there is bare soil, nature covers it with grasses or weeds or shrubbery or something. It doesn't like bare soil. And we see this as gardeners in areas where we didn't have that soil covered. We go out there in the spring, it looks very weathered. Erosion. A lot of it doesn't look like happy, healthy soil. Now, again, you can't look at a pile of soil and go, well, that pH is 7.3 and all this other. You have to get a soil test, and soilsavvy.com provides that. But you can visually see if soil looks better or worse when you have it covered with leaves, like we do in our raised beds. When we lift that up, we see the fungus, we see worms, we see bugs, we see creepy crawly things, we see a whole world of insects that have been hibernating or living under that leaves in the soil over winter that would not have been there, that all benefit your garden over the summer, over the winter, all year round.
Yes. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze for a second. Yeah. So with that being said,
soon it will be warming up. And we'll want to make sure that you can enjoy your yard without sharing it with those beetles and grubs. Now, those are bad bugs.
Yes. With spring just around the corner, it's time to start thinking about controlling beetles and grubs in your garden or yard. There's all sorts of, they talk about Japanese beetles all the time. I'm sure your neighbor is going to mention to you at some point soon.
When I was a kid, we didn't have them, and now we got them. Grub Gone can be applied to the turf or garden around ornamentals to control those grubs and lessen the impact those beetles have on your yard this summer. Easy to apply. Use a commercial spreader or irrigate it right into the soil. Biologically, specifically targeted for grubs and beetles and invaders without harming beneficial insects such as bees, ladybugs, and butterflies.
And to be honest, it's the only non-chemical that works. You can find out more at phyllombioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com.
When we come back, hang out with us. If you've never heard about growing in straw bales, the author, the creator, the inventor of that will be with us. Joe Karsten. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now, 1-800-927-SHOW.
Happy 65th anniversary to David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com. Deer Defeat is an all-natural based animal repellent to keep deer and rabbits away from your valuable plants that is odorless after 30 minutes and dries clear. It creates a continuous, invisible shield to protect your plants. Works for 30 days through rain, snow, and freeze. Will not clog your sprayer. Apply to your property without environmental damage. You can spray directly onto your plants up to flowering, then apply around your plants to continue protection. No need to reapply. Money back guarantee. To purchase, go to deerdefeat.com and use coupon code RADIO to save 10% off your order.
Nice garden and lawn and flowers.
What could this amazing liquid spray be? Just another fertilizer? Nope.
SoilDiva.net.
Take the guesswork out of composting with the AeroBin 400 or smaller 200 for easy composting. The AeroBin mimics how nature decomposes waste. The AeroBin is easy to use. You prepare your balanced organic waste, just open it up, drop it in, and close. After a short time, fertile compost is produced, which is easily accessed via the lower side door. The thermal insulation in the AeroBin conserves heat, leading to rapid breakdown of the biomass and works efficiently year-round, even in cooler regions. There is no need to turn the biomass, and it is pet and rodent resistant. It has little odor and can kill annoying weeds and seeds. It is BPA free. The AeroBin 400 or 200 comes with a reservoir at the bottom to collect the leachate. When diluted, makes for great compost tea liquid fertilizer. AeroBin composts kitchen and garden waste quickly. Easy to assemble with no special tools needed. The AeroBin makes composting rewarding and easy. Go to Costco.com to purchase. Mantis tillers, the premium long-lasting gas-powered tillers, are the perfect solution for any garden. This Mantis machine is available with 2 or 4 cycle engines with a 19-inch or 16-inch tilling width. Your DIY companion in your garden and your lawn converts easily for edging, aerating, and more with optional attachments. Find details at mantis.com. Wind River chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more.
Welcome back to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. Happy you're with us. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Joel Karsten has worked in the green industry for many years. He is the author and inventor of the straw bale garden method. He is also an avid vegetable gardener. Welcome to the program, Joel.
Hey, great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for that, for being with us. And just to be a total transparency, Joel Karsten, he is the inventor and also bale buster. He is a sponsor of the program as well, so I don't want anybody to think, well, what's that about? We want to make that clear as well.
All right, so why don't you tell us about the straw bale garden method idea? Where did you come up with this idea?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Right.
So many years ago, I graduated from college, and it's going on 34 years ago now, and I bought a house, a small house, and it turns out I have a degree in horticulture from college, and when I bought my house, I wanted to have a garden, obviously, a vegetable garden. So it turns out I only had less than an inch of topsoil at this new construction site. So underneath was all gravel and compacted clay, and on top was maybe an inch of topsoil. And normally a person would just build raised beds in that scenario. But I had a problem. I just graduated college and I just bought a house, so I didn't have money to build raised beds. But I did grow up on a crop and dairy farm. And when growing up on the farm, we would have bales of straw or bales of hay where you get a broken twine and you just set it against the barn, thinking you come back and get it later.
You never
but
do.
Then you never did.
Yeah, uh-huh.
That bale would get rained on and snowed on. And by the next summer, the great big, tallest, healthiest, greenest thistles in the whole county were the ones that would grow out of these bales laying by the barn. And I would notice that even as a little kid. So now we fast forward. I buy this house. I don't have any money to build raised beds, but I did remember these bales. And I thought, if it grows thistles or whatever out of these bales so well, it probably would grow tomatoes and peppers also. So I got some bales and I started doing some experimenting. And I started to develop this. It's kind of like a recipe, a real method for how to do this and have it be successful every time. It's kind of like making a sandwich. If you use the same ingredients every time, you end up with the same flavor sandwich, kind of like Subway. And so that's what we do is we tell people to get a bale, and then you've got to do the conditioning process on the bale. And then following the conditioning process, which is where it grows, colonizes bacteria inside, then you put your plants in. And if you just follow the step-by-step straw bale garden method, it's pretty much foolproof in most cases.
Now, in this evolving, learning how to grow in a straw bale, did your wife or your family, did it classify you as being crazy? Was they like, this is not going to work, you might as well just go do something different?
Yeah, a lot of people said that, Joey. A lot of people said that. So that's okay. Water runs off a duck's back.
Right.
I just kept doing it, and it worked for me. It worked really well. So I kept expanding and trying different things, and took me 3, 4, 5 years probably to really kind of get the method that I wanted perfected. And then I wrote it down because I wanted to keep track of what I was doing. And then other people would say, hey, I want to try that. Tell me how you did it. So then I would show them how to do it. And eventually that led to my first little self-published booklet. And then that led to, social media. That was way back when Facebook was just a baby, right? When Facebook first started in like 2005 or 6, we put a page on Facebook, and that spread to all kinds of information around the world. And then, of course, the publishers come and they say, hey, we see this little self-published booklet you got, but you need to write a real book about this. So I ended up writing a book with Cool Springs Press on Quarto Publishing in 2013. That was my first published book. It was just over 10 years ago. And since then, I've written 5 books now, and it's become a worldwide thing. At this point, Joey, we got more than 60 countries that we know of where people are growing in straw bales, and over 1 million people in North America that we know are doing straw bale gardening. So it's kind of become, while it's still a niche, there's 38 million households, I think they estimate, that have gardens. right around 1 million in North America. So that would include Canada and parts of Mexico as well. We got a lot of gardeners. So, and of the 38 million households in the United States that have backyard gardens, I would guess 800,000 straw bale gardens amongst those. So it's not a huge section yet. It's probably 1 to 2% of gardens, but slowly but surely we're converting people. People that try it love it, and they do more of it. So that's what we want to encourage.
Well, just think that if 15, 20, 30 years ago you would have went with the consensus, hey, this is crazy, you'll go do something else. The amount of people in even third world countries that are doing this now in a means that's the only way that they can survive is grow food in a straw bale. The impact that you have had, not to gloat or, point praise at you, but do you ever think about that?
Yeah, it's impactful. I mean, I know I get letters from people. It's crazy when people send me copies of their dad or their mom's obituary, and in their obituary it talks about how much they love straw bale gardening. I mean, that's pretty impactful.
Yeah.
If you can make it in the last 200, 300 words of someone's life, that means that it really meant something to them. And that happens more often than you'd think. I mean, that's happened many times already, where I see that in people's obituaries. So it's a strange phenomenon, and I don't know exactly why it happens. I speculate a little bit that it could be because straw bale gardening is very conspicuous. If you put 10 straw bales in your yard and start watering them and fertilizing them, people take notice.
Right.
And, you could have a regular, normal vegetable garden and nobody really pays much attention. But if you start watering straw bales, you're going to get lots of questions, and that creates curiosity, and that curiosity, creates conversations and maybe new relationships with neighbors you've never met before. And they stop by and ask about your straw bale garden. What is this that you're doing? And then you explain it to them. And that's that's one of the reasons why it spread so quickly, in my opinion, is because of that conspicuous nature. And just because it really is very simple to do. Mm-hmm. You prep the bales. It takes maybe 60 seconds a day for 10 days, and your bales are ready to plant. You plant them, and there's not a ton of maintenance. You got to water, keep the bales moist, and that's about it. And then you start harvesting. So it eliminates weeding, which is a big thing, and you don't have to bend over as much. So people like that, it holds moisture really well inside the bales. So, there's a lot of things people really like about it, and that lends itself to our modern lifestyle. People don't have time to spend tons and tons of time out weeding their garden. They like sort of a shortcut method. So this is like the hack for gardeners, sort of the shortcut method to have a successful vegetable garden without all the work that normally comes with a vegetable garden.
And you've talked about it multiple times, the conditioning process, because I think probably you would agree one of the fails that most people think is, I'll just put some plants in a straw bale and that's the fail, and they think it doesn't work. No. There's a process in which to get that internal portions of the bale to a material that the plants can feed off of and grow.
Yes. Oh, that's such an important thing. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yeah, what we're really doing during the conditioning period is we're growing bacteria inside the bales, bacteria and fungi. And they very quickly will colonize the bales, given the right conditions where they need some moisture and they need a source of food, which is normally a nitrogen source. You can do that organically or using traditional nitrogen. We make Bale Buster, our product, in both organic and traditional NPK type formulas. And you put that on, and that feeds the bacteria, and the bacteria colonize inside the bale. Then you'll be able to tell they're doing that because the bales get warm during that time. You can't see them because they're microscopic. You need a microscope if you wanted to see those bacteria, but you can feel them inside the bale. And then once they colonize inside the bale, they'll start to metabolize the straw, and they literally break the stem and the leaf of that stalk of straw back down into the cells that it was created from. And then they break those cells back down into the molecules that created the cells. And then floating around in the water solution inside this bale are little ions and cations of molecules that you would recognize, like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, molybdenum, zinc, calcium, iron, manganese, boron, all of the micro and macronutrients that all plants need to absorb through their roots in order to grow a new plant. So what's amazing is a tiny little molecule that was inside the leaf, let's say, of a wheat plant last year gets decomposed by bacteria, and that same molecule can end up inside a leaf of a tomato plant that we grow out of that bale the next year. So there's no new molecules created. All Mother Nature does is decomposes currently existing organic material, breaks it back into molecules that created that plant, and then allows those molecules to be absorbed again through the roots of another plant. So it's really amazing to see how it happens. And this is all, I know that your teacher covered this back in the third grade in your plant biology, but a lot of people have forgotten how the fundamentals of plant growth like that work. Of course, the energy is created through photosynthesis, but the cells that are created are created from these molecules that are absorbed by osmosis through the roots.
Fantastic. So some people, I know we've been asked this when we've given straw bale presentations, is a concern as pesticides being used on the bales or in the
wheat or the stubble.
Is there a way to know if it might be infiltrated with pesticides? Is that a high chance? How can people avoid that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that is a common question that I get. And I try to alleviate some fears there. Of more concern would be hay than straw, because there's a category of herbicides that tend to linger. Those are aminoralids and clopyralids, and those are typically the label on the application for something like the common name is Grazon is a good one, and it'll say on that label that you should never use this on hay that's going to be baled and sold for any purpose. And the reason is because that herbicide will linger inside the hay. None of those are labeled for use on cereal grains. So they shouldn't be using clopyralids or aminoralids on wheat and oats and barley and rice and some of the other sources that we get straw from. And if they did use like glyphosate for a dry down, to get the wheat or the oats to dry more quickly, that has a half-life of about 72 hours. So it's very volatile. And once it's sprayed on, it has its effect very quickly. And then after a week or 2 weeks, it's almost undetectable. And one of the great things we have in the bales is this bacteria. And when we colonize a bale with bacteria like that, it will eat any hydrocarbon chains that are in that bale. And that's what herbicides are, is hydrocarbon chains. Some of which are harder to break down, like the aminoralids and clopyralids. They will eventually break down completely. Bacteria will eat them. And what's funny is if you look up how to treat, like say you got a contaminated bale or something, you look up on the chemical manufacturer's information how to rectify that, how to solve that problem. They'll tell you need to compost the organic material in order to get rid of this lingering herbicide. And that's exactly what we're doing, because what they're counting on is bacteria coming in and breaking down those hydrocarbon chains. And that's what happens inside of a bale anyway. So, in all my years of doing straw bale gardening, I've never run into that situation where a bale has had lingering herbicides in it. I have had many occasions where people have planted their straw bale gardens and then somebody next door sprays the lawn with Weed Be Gone, or they spray their own lawn and that drifts over and ends up killing plants in their garden just from the herbicide drift. But more so than on the bale. Now, if you didn't get a bale and you were concerned about something being in it, you could do what's called a seed germination assay test. And that's something people could just Google how to do it. And there's real specific instructions for how to do it. Essentially, it means doing like you did in the second grade, where you fill little cups with potting mix, and then you put some seeds in there. And we're going to use seeds like of tomatoes, peas, and beans, or carrots is another really good one. And then you mix some of your straw. You take a couple handfuls of straw and chop that up and mix that in 3 other cups, and you plant the same seeds. And then you compare how many germinate in the plain potting mix versus the potting mix with the straw. And if you don't get any difference in germination, then there's no, in all 3 of those seeds, then there's no herbicide that could be present, because germinating seeds particularly of sensitive plants like peas and tomatoes and carrots, and beans, those will show very quickly if there's any contamination. So it's kind of a homeowner's way to DIY checking to see if there's any contamination. You can do this for your soil in your garden or for your straw in your straw bale too.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things in which one can grow in a straw bale, but what are some things that you wouldn't advise growing in a straw bale? That list is a lot smaller.
Yeah, I don't advise people to do corn. You know, people like to grow sweet corn, but shoot, you can only get maybe 3 stalks of corn out of a bale, so it's not very productive. It's hard, you know, the roots are really big and it's hard to keep it upright. So I don't advise that. And then perennial stuff like rhubarb and asparagus that comes back year after year, really, you shouldn't even harvest those for 3 years after you plant them. So I always tell people probably that's not a good idea for your straw bales. The other thing I haven't had great luck with, honestly, is onions. Haven't done very well for me. Now, down south, they love their onions in the straw bales. I get reports back that they love them in Texas and Oklahoma and such. But I don't do very well with those here in Minnesota. The other thing that doesn't seem to do well is rosemary. Doesn't grow very well in the bales. Other than that, pretty much everything. And you'll love tomatoes out of bales. They do really well, as does squash and cucumbers and peppers. And another star for me has always been eggplants. They do really well.
Well, that bale holds that moisture that plant needs, such as for your watermelons, your squashes, your cantaloupes, that type of thing. So you're not having to water consistently on those hot summer days.
Yeah. You know, I still encourage people to you know, make sure they're watering, right. But you just don't have to water at such volume.
Right.
You can water a small amount, a small dose, but then do it more frequently. I'll tell you that one of the saving graces for vegetable gardeners are these little hose end timers that you can buy, that you can put on your soaker hose or your drip system, and you just program it like your alarm clock. I got a new one last summer because mine went kaput, and it hooks up to my phone. So it's all Wi-Fi. I can program on there, you know, how long I want each different zone to turn on for. Just makes watering so simple. Then I can water more often, but in real low doses. And that really is helpful for a vegetable garden. Otherwise, things get overwatered. Whenever you overwater a bale, for instance, a lot of that water will run through the bale, and then it carries with it any soluble nutrients in that bale. So you can actually flush nitrogen right out of the bale if you're not careful. So I encourage people just a small dose and then do it more frequently. So when you get to midsummer, you know, where you got a great big tomato plant growing out of that bale, and you got 100 tomatoes up on that plant that you're trying to feed, you're trying to juice those tomatoes, it's going to use a lot of water. So maybe 3 times a day, but every time you water, it's only, you know, on that bale's maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes. So it just gets a gallon of water on each bale, and that's enough. And then, but maybe it's going off 3 times a day, you know, once early in the morning and once midday and once in the early afternoon, and just don't water late in the day. That's what I always tell people. If you can avoid watering, get at least 3 hours of sunlight on your garden before sunset. You know, you want to make sure that garden is dry going into the sunset. That's really important because it will help stop bacterial and fungal growth on your leaves. Wet leaves in a vegetable garden will spread disease. So you want to try to keep those leaves as dry as possible, as much as possible.
That's a great reminder, Joel. So we've really enjoyed having you on the program again. How can people find out more, you know, your website, and then obviously they can pick up a book and
Bale Buster
and Bale Buster as well.
Yeah, we're all over online, but the best place to come is to strawbalegardenclub.com. It's really sort of the headquarters now for all things straw bale gardening. You don't have to be a member to come to our site. You can, if you do come, you can join for free. We just ask for people to sign up so that we keep spammers off of our website. We have a free forum there where people can ask questions, and then we get answers back to them real quickly. We have almost 100 videos now on our website, a major blog there people can read. So there's a lot of resources and a lot of information. And, of course, they can buy Bale Buster there as well. Bale Buster is available all over now. It's on Amazon. It's on Walmart.com, so people can find it in lots of places. So if you're doing a straw bale garden, give Bale Buster a try on at least 4 of your bales. We sell Bale Buster 4, which is it's packaged just specifically for 4 bales. We have all different sizes, but that's a good sort of a starter size for people to try out. So.
Well, Joel, we greatly appreciate your time, your invention of the straw bale garden method, and the information you've shared not only with Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. We thank you for that.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And when we come back, it's your garden questions, our garden answers. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com.
Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardeners, farms, landscaping, and more. To find our products nearest you, visit blueribbonorganics.com. Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you the harvest you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com. Use coupon code ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. That coupon code is ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com. Welcome back to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. Happy you are with us today. You got a question? It's time for garden questions and answers. Send it on over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call, toll free, coast to coast, 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. If we can't get to you, leave a message. We will call you back. Had a number of questions come in this week. We'll see what we can get through to the top of the hour. First question, is there an advantage to growing in grow bags versus the ground or raised beds?
I mean, I guess it depends on
Purpose?
how much space you have. If I had a little patio garden, I would do like little bags, probably.
Rootmaker grow bags?
Yeah, Rootmaker grow bags, because you can move them around. If I was in a living situation where I wanted to move them around, but if you have a permanent living situation where you could do raised beds. Some people...
Well, the also advantage for the grow bags is if one plant, let's say you got 3 or 4 pepper plants, and one plant gets infestated with a insect or disease, you can physically move that plant away from the other ones until you diagnose it or figure it out or cure it. If in the ground, you can't do that. You just got to let it go, and try to fight it while it's probably attacking the other plants.
Right. So the next question we have is...
So back to that one. Oh. There's positives and negatives to all of them, but specifically, what is your situation will work best for you? And we do all three. We do in-ground, raised bed, and containers on patios, porches, backyards, in-ground, the whole deal. We do all of that.
Yes, we absolutely do. So can I grow potatoes that are sprouting in the kitchen?
Yes.
Yes, you sure can. You should not, if you've had some potatoes sitting there for a while and they have not sprouted, don't use those.
The appropriate time.
Yeah. You want to I mean, obviously if you brought potatoes home from the store and they didn't sprout tomorrow, but if they sat there for a while and they've been sprouting, then you can absolutely grow them. We do suggest that if they're a larger potato, maybe cut them up a little bit to about the size of an egg, like a regular sized chicken egg, is what you want to plant, but you can absolutely grow those.
45 degrees minimum soil temperature at root zone, consistent. So long range forecast, you want to check the soil temperature 3, 4, 5 inches below soil grade. And we do it also now, and I'll talk about it next week. We're going to talk about growing how to grow potatoes. But also, here's the other thing. You kind of want to try to figure out what variety you have. Due to the fact that certain varieties, there's early, mid, and late season or long season potatoes. Some take 90 days, some take 110, some take 120. So you kind of want to know what you're getting into so you know the basic time frame. Oh, that plant's starting to die off. We can harvest it. Also, people are concerned, well, it may be sprayed with something. If it's already sprouting, it's not been sprayed, or the spray has, dissipated growth inhibitors and it's sprouting, you're going to be fine. Now, you can use sprouted potatoes for like mashed potatoes. You just don't want to do like a baked potato and cut, tear all the eyes off. But a mashed potato that has been with a potato that has eyes on it does work.
Right.
You're not going to notice that. But yeah, you can certainly do that. Works very well. And if you're concerned, and sometimes, and I'll say this because we don't have a seed potatoes, sometimes the seed potatoes can be quite expensive.
Absolutely.
And a bag of, you get a bag of 10 or 15 pounds of potatoes for a couple of dollars. So, what are you going to do?
Right. Okay.
Are coffee grounds good or bad for your garden? And will they make the soil acidic?
Coffee grounds are great for your soil. You would have to add a ton of coffee grounds to get it to raise the acidity of your soil. And most of it's brewed out in the process. So it's like you have a very little chance of getting it too acidic on top of a smaller chance.
Right. But the soil has what is called a buffering capacity that it would counteract, or it wouldn't diminish or adjust the pH because of that soil nature keeps it from doing that. Coffee grounds have about 2% nitrogen by volume, 0.5% potassium, 0.5% phosphate. And you want to mix them in because if you just broadcast them on top, that nitrogen can most likely and does evaporate and you lose that. Now, you still have the organic matter. If you have a worm bin, they like that. You can mix it in your worm bin and your containers. How much is the right amount of coffee grounds to put in your garden? It just varies. But what we have done in the past is a 5-gallon bucket in 40 to 60 square feet. And how do you obtain that kind of quantity of coffee grounds? Is you go to your coffee shop. Now, there's big chains that will have bagged used coffee grounds.
I don't know if they even do that anymore.
I've seen it. They still do. But your local independent coffee shop is the one you want to make a phone call to. And they will most likely say, bring a bucket in. When it's full, we'll come back in a day or two and it's ready to go. They're going to include the coffee filters as well, which is totally fine to incorporate into your garden. But you can also mix this into your compost bin. It's a good way because otherwise these coffee grounds go right in the dumpster.
Some smaller local coffee places do try to compost them themselves, or they'll give them to community gardens. Like they try to responsibly get rid of them. But
there's a certain level of it's too difficult, dumpster it goes.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially, I feel like these days. But yeah. So my next question is best place to get soil for my containers and raised beds. Well, you would want to contact your local independent garden center. I would start there. A lot of them will sell you bulk soil. You can get prices. You can
load it up in your car in buckets and bags. We've done that.
We have.
But it's the financing aspect of it is a fraction compared if you would go and buy it per bag and fill your raised beds or fill your containers.
Right. And if you don't want to do that, a lot of them do offer delivery. Now, it is not always the cheapest option, but it is an option. Well,
I'm doing loose math here at the garden center that we had worked with. 2 bags of the name brand potting or the compost potting soil was like $22 a piece, and we got almost a half a yard of raised bed mix for $40. There's a lot there. If you're in the in the Milwaukee area, we would recommend you checking out Blue Ribbon Organics. Great source of locally made compost and raised bed mix, which we are using in our raised beds and have for a number of years. Well, with that being said, Holly, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. What did you learn today, Holly?
Today I learned that, all these people, it's like old wives' tale. The warmer the winter, the more bugs we're going to have. And I knew that wasn't necessarily the case, but I learned more in depth that is not always the case.
I learned that Joe Karsten, our guest, that there are over 60 countries now using the straw bale method that he invented growing up on his dairy and grain farm as a child. Very unique, cool genre of gardening.
Is that like a very like a farmer bro show?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll do that. What we learned today is sponsored by Honey Bee Healthy.
Whether you're a gardener, a bee hobbyist, or a professional beekeeper, Honey Bee Healthy Inc. has the products to help you maintain a healthy hive and thriving garden. For more information on how to use Honey Bee Healthy Inc. in your garden, visit honey.healthy.com.
Tune in next week to the program. We'll go over the topics of 5 don'ts to do in your garden, as well as growing potatoes. Our guest is Jennifer Gomes, master food preserver and podcaster. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.